Welcome, demigods, monsters, and gods alike, to the Olympus Report. Sometimes I think we forget just how young these characters are. Here's everything you need to know about the ages in the RiordanVerse. Riordan has stated his characters will only be as old as they currently are in the last entry of the RiordanVerse. So if we look at the official timeline, you can watch my breakdown of it here, we see that from the Lightning Thief, the first entry in the RiordanVerse, to the Sun and the Star, the current latest entry in the RiordanVerse, the story takes place over 6 years. And some characters' ages and birthdays are mentioned. So we're going to be taking a look at those characters and figuring out just how old they currently are. Let's start with Percy Jackson. Percy is 12 when we first meet him in The Lightning Thief and has a birthday on August 18th. The Sun and the Star takes place 6 years later at the end of August. This would put Percy at 18. He is currently attending New Rome University. Next up, Annabeth Chase. Annabeth, very similar to Percy, is also 12 when we first meet her and has a birthday on July 12th, making her about a month older. This would also put her at 18 during The Sun and the Star. She is with Percy at New Rome University. Now, Grover's age is a bit trickier as satyrs age more slowly than humans. In the books, he was stated to be 32 but looks 16. Grover has a birthday on June 5th, so if we add 6 years, he would be 38 but look 22. Now let's finish the rest of the 7 demigods of the prophecy. Let's start with Jason. Jason is 15 when we meet him in The Lost Hero, which takes place in December. His birthday is July 1st and actually takes place in the Mark of Athena. This would put him at 16. Jason would only make it to the following March and die at 16. Piper is very similar to Jason. We meet her at 15 in December and has a birthday on June 3rd and turns 16 during the events of the Heroes of Olympus. Piper would live past Jason and make it to the following June, which would put her at 17 during the events of the Sun and the Star. Leo is 15 when we meet him. He has a birthday on July 7th and would turn 16 during the House of Hades. The following July, he would turn 17, 1 month before the start of the Sun and the Star, making him 17. Frank is 16 when we meet him in the Son of Neptune. His birthday is June 5th. The Sun and the Star takes place the following August, which would put Frank at 17. Now, Hazel is another complicated one because she technically was born in 1928, but we're not going to count the year she was dead. Hazel was 13 when she died and was brought back 9 months before the Son of Neptune, which takes place in June. Hazel's birthday is December 17th, so she would be 14 during the events of the Son of Neptune. The Tyrant's Tomb takes place the following April, which would put her at 15. Frank and Hazel are actually only 2 years apart, so people can stop saying that Frank is too old for her. Next up, another complicated one, Nico D'Angelo. Like Hazel, Nico was technically born in 1924, but for the sake of my sanity, we're not going to count the years he was in the Lotus Hotel and Casino. Nico is 10 when we meet him in The Titan's Curse, which takes place in December. His birthday is January 28th, so he almost immediately turned 11. And The Sun and the Star takes place approximately 3 years after that, putting Nico at the age of 14. Yeah, that one messed me up a bit. I could have swore Nico was way older. But let's move on to Will Salas. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think his age was ever actually stated within the RiordanVerse specifically. I think it just said he was around 16 during the Blood of Olympus with a birthday on August 23rd. So if the Sun and the Star takes place the following August, he would now be 17. Moving on to Luke Castellum. Luke was 19 during the Lightning Thief and his birthday was never stated, but since the last Olympian takes place 4 years later, we can assume he would have been either 22 or 23 during the time of his death. And now here's another complicated one. Thalia Grace, who spent 7 years as a tree. Thalia was 12 when she was turned into a tree, so she would have been the same age as Luke. But she aged more slowly as a tree, only 3 years, putting her at 15 when she was revived. Thalia's birthday is December 22nd, but joined the Hunters right before her 16th birthday, so Thalia is forever 15. Meg McCaffrey is 12 when we meet her in the Hidden Oracle. Her birthday is unknown, but since The Sun and the Star takes place only 6 months later, we can assume she is either still 12 or maybe 13. Rena is 16 when we meet her in The Son of Neptune. Her birthday is not stated, but since the Tyrant's Tomb happens almost a full year later, we can assume she'd probably be 17 when joining the Hunters, making her forever 17. Alright, let's move on to the Kane Chronicles. Carter Kane is 14 when we meet him in the Red Pyramid, and his birthday is June 14th, which would make him 16 during the events of Demigods and Magicians, which takes place 2 years later during September through December. The Sun and the Star happens the following August, which takes place after June, putting Carter at 17. Sadie Kane is 12 years old during the events of the Red Pyramid and has a birthday on March 17th, making her 14 during the events of Demigods and Magicians, which again takes place from September to December, and putting her at 15 during the events of The Sun and the Star. Okay, now on to the Magnus Chase series, which is actually pretty simple because most of these characters are dead. And no, that's not a spoiler. We meet Magnus at 16, and he dies at 16, making him forever 16. In fact, we're introduced to Magnus on his 16th birthday, January 13th. We meet Alex Fierro at 16, and Alex dies at 16, making Alex forever 16. Alex's birthday is never stated. Samira Alabis is 16 when we meet her, and her birthday is not stated. And as The Sun and the Star happens only 6 months later, we can assume she's either still 16 or maybe 17. And that's all the characters I could find that had ages listed, so let's recap. Percy 18, Annabeth 18, Grover 38 but looks 22, Jason 16, dead, Piper 17, Leo 17, Frank 17, Hazel 15, Nico 14, Will 17, Luke 22 or 23, dead. Thalia forever 15. Meg McCaffrey 12, maybe 13. Reyna forever 17. Carter Kane 17. Sadie Kane 15. Magnus forever 16. Alex forever 16. Sam 16, maybe 17. Did I leave anyone out that you know the age of? Let me know down in the comments below. But until next time, I'm signing off, and please, as always, stay safe.